President Trump has now issued several executive orders to crack down on immigration. The orders declaring a state of emergency and sending military troops to the southern border.
Well, one city that has been at the center of the immigration debate is Yuma. And Yuma's mayor, joining us live now, Mayor Doug Nicholls. Mayor, what's your take on what the president has done so far this week?
Well, you know, things are just getting started, so we got to see how things do come together. But there's been a lot of discussion about reassigning National Guard and potentially regular Army to the border, and that'll be a great boost for our Border Patrol agents so that they can get back on the border, and all the non-law enforcement activities can be handled by our military personnel in the short term until we get past this kind of crisis area that we're in right now.
You know, one of the aims of the executive order was, of course, to stop some of the folks coming over, not just with the drug cartels, but criminals. How has the issue of immigration affected your community?
You know, we're pretty fortunate here in Yuma. Our Border Patrol agents do an amazing job, and they work very, very well with our local law enforcement, our sheriff's department, as well as our local law enforcement at the cities. But it's really about uncertainty. When so many people are coming through, you don't know who's coming through, and you don't know what they're bringing with them and what their history is, their intention is. And that creates a lot of uncertainty. But right now, Yuma continues to be a very safe community and a very progressive community as far as, growing and looking into the future. There's a lot of great things happening in our community right now.
You know, we watched, our cameras were there live during the kind of massive influx. We literally watched as Border Patrol was down there on the border open up a big gate, and people were flooding in and apparently using that app, trying to set up appointments, etc. Maybe you could give us a little bit of a kind of a running analysis of what the last, say, year to 2 years have been like when it comes to the border and in your area, and where things stand today.
Sure. You know, about two and a half years ago, we were at our peak. We were about 1,300 to 1,500 people coming across a day, and that's just in the Yuma sector. And so they would come across, and as you mentioned, they'd all come across in one area, not looking to evade. They'd want Border Patrol to take them into custody so they could get into the system and they could be released into the country pending a future date. And that was kind of the problem. That was the attraction. Since then, there's been a lot of policies put in place locally that have kind of changed some of the posture, as well as when President Biden about 6-8 months ago did as an executive order. So we're doing a lot of expedited removal. So that's reduced the numbers quite a bit. We're down to under 100 a day, probably about close to 75 a day, which sounds great in comparison to the 1,300 to 1,500, but it's still 5 to 10 times higher than what we would have normally seen prior to the latest increase. So, things are relatively good right now. Border Patrol is able to keep control over it, but we're still seeing high numbers in other sectors, which means Border Patrol then brings people for processing here in the Yuma area.
Okay, Mayor Nicholls, thank you for your time this morning. We appreciate it. We look forward to chatting with you in the coming months about how the process actually takes place there in San Luis and in Yuma. Have a great day.
Thank you. You too.
Thanks, Mayor.